All right. So those of you that know the Reading Cow, you expect me to be on the other channel, but I don't know. Today it just happened that I turned up on this channel, and what we've been doing is reading the declining fall of the Roman Empire. I mean, the decline and fall of the Roman Empire of Gibbon. And, you know, when I was in college, I'm pretty sure I read this. And I know I at least listened to the whole thing on audiobook. But the varying orations, I would say I remember more. Yeah, and the Gallic Wars, yeah, stuff like that. But I picked it up, and I've been reading it. I went through the 1800 and something or another edition, editor's preface and stuff, and read through. And that's over on the Reading Cal channel. But I decided to get back here, and I'm just mulling it over in my mind. It's like, well, dang, you know, this, I don't want to go to the Mystic Mass channel. That's the problem. Because it's linked on Twitch. So anyway, that's what I'm kind of mulling over here. All right, so here we are, Chapter 1, The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. The extent of the empire in the age of the Antonines. This is like sort of his word, I think, for the quote-unquote the five good emperors. What's his name and who's the guy? And Marcus Aurelius. So just keeping that in mind, I guess, in the text, you know, maybe we'll get a chance to look at their names again and see if we can, you know, kind of get them in our brains. All right, so I don't know. Part 2. What do you mean? Something happened. Okay, yeah, it should have been Part 1. I don't know what happened. Something, you know, bumped and it went down there. Okay. All right. The extent and military force of the empire in the age of the Antonines. The Antonines. Okay. In the 2nd century of the Christian era. Right? So that's 100 and something, yeah. In the Common Era, right? So Jesus has been dead for probably about a century, right? And they were expecting him to come back, but he never came back. All right, so oh, and this is okay. The Empire of Rome comprehended the fairest part of the earth. That means that you know, yeah. That means he doesn't know what he's talking about. No, the fairest part of the earth. You know, it's like they surrounded the whole Mediterranean. You know, this, I could call it our sea. You know, all the way around the circle to from Gibraltar to the whatchamajiggy, Phrygia. Yeah. What do you call that place up there where Turkey is? The Levant? Is that what it is? Yeah. And then in the north, you know, they were up into, you know, where modern day France and Germany and Spain, you know, they were all up there. You know, the whole Iberian Peninsula, I think. Also, maybe they even had the Roman Britain. You know, at that time. I have to check again, but I think they did. Okay. But maybe he'll tell us. I mean, that's why we're here, right? So he can tell us what's going on. And the most civilized portion of mankind, he calls the Romans civilized. put that in your pipe and smoke it. All right. The frontiers of that extensive monarchy were guarded by ancient renown and disciplined valor. Right? So I think that's a way of saying that some places they just didn't go there because they didn't want to get their asses kicked. But some places they really did have soldiers. I think it's got places where there's holes in it. Yeah, so that's what that means. All right, yeah. The gentle but powerful influence of laws and manners had gradually cemented the union of the provinces. Their peaceful inhabitants enjoyed and abused, foreshadowing, the advantages of wealth and luxury. Right? They got fat and lazy, like me. All right. The image of a free constitution was preserved with decent reverence. Decent, now it sort of means like, hey, that's decent. It means like just so, okay, right? But when he used the word decent, I think it meant decency, right? Whatever his notion was. Well, people were not hawking loogies on the document, right? They were, they had a constitution in theory until the emperor, cuts your head off or whatever. Yeah, okay. So the Roman Senate appeared to possess the sovereign authority. That's sort of like England, I guess, yeah. And devolved on the emperors all the executive powers of government. During a happy period of more than 80 years. You know how long 80 is? 80. That's 80 years, yeah. So the 80 years, the public administration was conducted by the virtue and abilities of nobody. No, Nerva. Nerva is like some guy that, he wasn't a general first. I guess the thing I remember about Nerva is that he kind of came in through the back door. I think there was, yeah, okay, maybe we'll get there was an assassination and Nerva was declared emperor, and he was not in line like previous emperors had been, so Nerva's kind of interesting. The abilities of Nerva, Trajan, which people say Trajan, Hadrian, and the two Antonines. Is that Commodus and Severus? I can't remember. Yeah. But hopefully we'll hear about them more by reading this. All right. It is the design of this and of the two succeeding chapters to describe the prosperous condition of their empire, and afterwards, from the death of here it is, Marcus Antoninus, to deduce the most important circumstances of its decline and fall. A revolution which will ever be remembered and is still felt by the nations of the earth. Yeah. The principal conquests of the Romans were achieved under the Republic. Take note. Yeah. And the emperors, for the most part, were satisfied with preserving those dominions which had been acquired by the policy of the Senate. The active emulations of the consuls and the martial enthusiasm of the people. I like that. So here you go. The principal conquests of the Romans were achieved under the Republic, and the emperors, for the most part, were satisfied with preserving those dominions which had been acquired by the policy of the Senate, the active emulations of the consuls, and the martial enthusiasm of the people. So those are all the factors involved in the whole decision of what their Lebensraum was going to be. Right? The 7 first centuries were filled with a rapid succession of triumphs, but it was reserved for Augustus to relinquish the ambitious design of subduing the whole earth. So Julius Caesar had adopted Octavianus, and then he fell in with with like left wingers and liberals and stuff. And they were called the populares, the pop Romans, right? He was fell in with them, and so the conservatives stabbed him a bunch of times and killed him. And then the conservatives went ahead, and they elected Octavianus, his adopted nephew, to be the Emperor Augustus. And that's sort of the fall of the Republic. It was like they were at a point when they were gonna, help the poor and reform, and the popularists, are gonna get a say in things or whatever. And then the rich conservatives stabbed Julius Caesar a bunch of times, and then they put a crown on the head of his adopted, I guess Octavianus was maybe a nephew or something like that. I'm pretty sure he was adopted. Right? All right. And to introduce a spirit of moderation into the public councils. Inclined to peace by his temper and situation, it was easy for him to discover that Rome, in her present exalted situation, had much less to hope than to fear from the chance of arms, and that in the prosecution of remote wars, the undertaking became every day more difficult, the event more doubtful, and the possession more precarious and less beneficial. The experience of Augustus added weight to these salutary reflections, and effectually convinced him that, by the prudent vigor of his counsels, it would be easy to secure every concession which the safety or the dignity of Rome might require from the most formidable barbarians. Instead of exposing his person and his legions to the arrows of the Parthians, he obtained, by honorable treaty, the restitution of the standards and prisoners which had been taken in the defeat of Crassus. 1a. Okay, so here's the note right here. Dion Cassius, I guess Live is a book, volume 1, page 736, with the annotations of Reimar. Copy. Who has collected all that Roman vanity has left upon the subject. Now, just as a matter of interest, let's see, okay. Let's go up here and see if we can find this Dion Cassius. Here's the Wikipedia article. So that's what he's referring to. And it's all in French. Let's see if we can. How interesting. We don't have it in English, right? So let's go and see if we can find the book. Okay. Yeah, and see, that's short for livres, right? Dio Cassius, the manuscripts of the Roman history. This looks like what we want. Cassius Dio, or Dion Cassius, as he is known in Greek, wrote his Roman history in 80 books in Greek, sometime in the early 3rd century under Severus or Caracalla, or both of whom he knew. Dio exerted no appreciable influence on his immediate successors in the field of Roman history, but among the Byzantines he became the standard authority on the subject, a circumstance to which we doubtless owe the preservation of a large portion of his work. Most of the remainder is extant in the condensed book format or epitome favored by the Byzantine. About 1/3 of Dio's history has come down to us intact. Yeah. All right, so there we have it. Let's see. I might, if he refers to him more, I might take pains and go and look at that a little bit more closely. All right, so Dion Cassius, with all the annotations, who has collected all that Roman vanity is left upon the subject, the marble of Ancyra, on which Augustus recorded his own exploits, asserted that he compelled the Parthians to restore the ensigns of Crassus. All right. Let's see. His generals, in the early part of his reign, attempted the reduction of Ethiopia and Arabia Felix. What the hell is Arabia Felix? I don't even know what that is. I know, and I'm not sure what Ethiopia was back then, but let's take a look. And I do. I like people to see, what this kind of looks like. Arabia Felix was the name, Latin name previously used by geographers to describe South Arabia. So yeah, I guess they went across here and went down here and whatever like that to get this. Get that territory, conquer it, conquistador it. All right. They marched nearly 1,000 miles to the south of the Tropic, but the heat of the climate soon repelled the invaders and protected the unwarlike natives of those sequestered regions. 2C. So let's see if this goes. See, if the note is too close, this doesn't work in Calibre. So you have to go here. Strabo. Right, and that's book 16, page 780. Pliny the Elder, Natural History, Dion Cassius. So, I wonder if we can get Strabo. Let's see. Strabo. Complete works. Read online. Look at this. Strabo Geography books 1 through 17 in 8 volumes. Is that not cool? Look at that. Amazing. Okay, well, that's loading. Well, okay, here we go. Let's look into this. I want to actually go into the text and see. Oh, isn't that great? This is like, if you see these books like this, they have one page in Greek and the facing page in English. So he describes all these countries, right? And no telling whatever crazy stuff he has in here. But isn't that amazing? And these are I bet you can freely download these. You don't need to check them out. You can put them on your computer, and they're all yours, forever. So cool. All right. So these guys, Strabo, Pliny the Elder, Dion Cassius, have left us very curious details concerning these wars. That's interesting. You write a geography book and you talk about the wars. Yeah, okay. The Romans made themselves masters of Mariaba, or Marab, a city of Arabia Felix. That's like Yemen or something. Well known to the Orientals. See Abul Feda and the Nubian Geography. Abul Feda and the Nubian Geography on page 52. They arrived within 3 days' journey of the Spice Country, the rich object of their invasion. Okay, so that's the Oriental stuff. All right, so I'm going to click back, and then I'm gonna go over here. I'm going to take a look. I need just results with Abul Feda. Abul al-Fida. Yeah, okay. Abul al-Fida, born November 1273, Damascus, died October 27, 1331, Hamas, Syria, was an Ayyubid dynasty historian and geographer who became a local sultan under the Mamluk Empire. Okay, so now let's see if we can go find his book. Don't see it. All right, so we got that. All right, now let's look. The northern countries of Europe scarcely deserve the expense and labor of conquest. So they say. The forests and morasses of Germany were filled with a hardy race of barbarians who despised life when it was separated from freedom. And though on the first attack they seemed to yield to the weight of the Roman power, they soon, by a signal act of despair, regained their independence and reminded Augustus of the vicissitude of fortune. Yeah. When you got them in a corner, they turn around and kick your ass a couple of times, right? 3A. Yeah. That's how I interpret that. I was supposed to read this. Note, it is this city of Merab that the Arabs say was the residence of Belkis, the queen of Saba, who desired to see Solomon. A dam by which the waters collected in its neighborhood were kept back, having been swept away. The sudden inundation destroyed this city, of which nevertheless vestiges remain. It bordered on a country called Adramaut, where a particular aromatic plant grows. It is for this reason that we reel. Maybe that's a bad. That's a type. That we deal in the history of the Roman expedition that they were arrived within 3 days' journey of the Spice Country. Yeah. Compare Malte Brun geography, English translation. All right. I wonder if I can find this guy. Let's go take a look. You saw that. I just copied that, and it didn't take. Let's see. Copy. Paste. I guess this is him. Look at that. Oh, yeah. He's a noted geographer. All right, so I got that ready. Yeah. De vetusta epocha Arabum ruptura cataracte marabensis. Right? So that's, I guess he's talking about the dam burst, right, and the story of how the city was flooded. Yeah. Note too, according to Strabo, the detailed account of Strabo makes the invaders fail before Marsuabi. This cannot be the same place as Mariaba. Ukert observes. Ukert? Okay. And the Aelius Gallus would not have failed for want of water before Mariaba. See M. Guizot's note above. Either, therefore, they were different places or Strabo is mistaken. So Urquhart has got a German geography of Greece and Rome. Strabo indeed mentions Mariaba distinct from Marsuabi. Gibbon has followed Pliny in reckoning Mariaba among the conquests of Gallus. There can be little doubt that he is wrong, as Gallus did not approach the capital of Sabia. Compare with the note of the Oxford editor of Strabo. Okay, so we came over here to look at note 3a, which I can't even remember. Oh yeah, it's probably the Verus stuff. Let's go back. All right. They soon, by a signal act of despair, regained their independence and reminded Augustus of the vicissitude of fortune. 3a. Give me back my legions. Yeah, that's the Verus thing, the debacle. 3a. By the slaughter of Verus and his 3 legions. See the first book of the Annals of Tacitus. Suetonius and Augustus, C23, and Velius Paterculus. A lot of people remember that. And, you know, if I'm not mistaken, they maybe have found the site of where Verus was defeated and all the legions were destroyed or whatever it is. You know, all the skeletons and stuff are still there. Wow. Or, stuff is there. I don't know. Yeah. But look that up. That's something to look up. Read about. You can read the whole article about Verus and stuff like that. Okay. So, let's go back. Oh, I want to test this. Like, if I'm here and I hit this, it works. See? But if I'm too close, it doesn't work. Right? Okay. See? It's kind of weird. Right? But here it works. Okay. So, on the death of that emperor, his testament was publicly read in the Senate. He bequeathed, as a valuable legacy to his successors, the advice of confining the empire within those limits which nature seemed to have placed as its permanent bulwarks and boundaries. On the west, the Atlantic Ocean. Right, this is something, it's like it drifts, The Rhine and the Danube on the north, those are 2 big rivers, right? The Euphrates on the east and towards the south, the sandy deserts of Arabia and Africa. So 4. You see, I hit 4 and it doesn't take me quite there. So it takes you to the page before it. But here it is. Go to Tacitus, Annals, Volume 1. Is that Chapter 2? I don't know. Dion Cassius. And the speech of Augustus himself and Julian Caesar's. It receives great light from the learned notes of his French translator, Monsieur Spanheim. That's in here return. All right, so that puts me right where I need to be. Happily, for the repose of mankind, the moderate system recommended by the wisdom of Augustus was adopted by the fears and vices of his immediate successors. Engaged in the pursuit of pleasure or in the exercise of tyranny, the first Caesars seldom showed themselves to the armies or to the provinces, nor were they disposed to suffer that those triumphs which their indolence neglected should be usurped by the conduct and valor of their lieutenants. The military fame of a subject was considered as an insolent invasion of the imperial prerogative, and it became the duty as well as interest of every Roman general to guard the frontiers entrusted to his care, without aspiring to conquests which might have proved no less fatal to himself than to the vanquished barbarians. So note 5, Germanicus, Suetonius, Paulinus, and Agricola were checked and recalled in the course of their victories. Corbulo was put to death. Military merit, as it is admirably expressed by Tacitus, was in the strictest sense of the word imperatoria virtus. Yeah. It's like they had Donald Trump, was in charge, and everything that you did, he took credit for it. And if you might take credit for it, he killed you. Yeah, that's right. The only accession which the Roman Empire received during the first century of the Christian era was the province of Britain. In this single instance, the successors of Caesar and Augustus were persuaded to follow the example of the former rather than the precept of the latter. The proximity of its situation to the coast of Gaul seemed to invite their arms. The pleasing, though doubtful, intelligence of a pearl fishery attracted their avarice. See, it doesn't work. So it's probably right down here. Caesar himself, see, it's on the same page, so it doesn't go to it. All right. Caesar himself conceals that ignoble motive, but it is mentioned by Suetonius. The British pearls proved, however, of little value on account of their dark and livid color. Tacitus observes with reason in Agricola that it was an inherent defect. Ego facilias creditorum naturam margaritas, I guess the margaritas, de esse quam nobis averitium. Yeah, okay. So the return works, okay. And as Britain was viewed in the light of a distinct and insulated world, the conquest scarcely formed any exception to the general system of continental measures. After a war of about 40 years undertaken by the most stupid, Claudius, Nero, and Domitian. So he calls Claudius, Nero, and Domitian the most stupid, period. I hope it's expressed by Pomponius Mela. He wrote under Claudius that by the success of the Roman arms, the island and its savage inhabitants would soon be better known. It is amusing enough to peruse such passages in the midst of London. All right, let's see, 7 return. All right. Maintained by the most dissolute and terminated by the most timid of all the emperors. So I guess that developed the 3 stooge emperors, Claudius, Nero, and Domitian. Right? The far greater part of the island submitted to the Roman yoke. Right? See the admirable abridgment given by Tacitus in the Life of Agricola, and copiously, though perhaps not completely, illustrated by our own antiquarians Camden and Horsley. Now, if I was at the beginning of this, I'd probably look it up. I've already got so many things to look at, and I'm kind of backing away from it. All right. The various tribes of Britain possessed valor without conduct and the love of freedom without the spirit of union. They took up arms with savage fierceness. They laid them down or turned them against each other with wild inconsistency. And while they fought singly, they were successively subdued. Neither the fortitude of Caractacus nor the despair of Boudica, nor the fanaticism of the Druids could avert the slavery of their country, or resist the steady progress of the imperial generals, who maintained the national glory when the throne was disgraced by the weakest or the most vicious of mankind. At the very time when Domitian, confined to his palace, felt the terrors which he inspired, his legions under the command of the virtuous Agricola defeated the collected force of the Caledonians at the foot of the Grampian Hills. I just wanted to try that feature. Let's say. The mountains in Scotland. So they're in Scotland. And his fleet's venturing to explore. Yeah, I need to close this. So that's what that does. Right? I'd never used that before, the little search thing on Calibre. But yeah, it goes straight to the Wikipedia page, which is pretty cool. Okay. At the foot of the Grampian Hills, and his fleets, venturing to explore an unknown and dangerous navigation, displayed the Roman arms around every part of the island. The conquest of Britain was considered as already achieved, and it was the design of Agricola to complete and ensure his success by the easy reduction of Ireland, for which, in his opinion, 1 legion and a few auxiliaries were sufficient. 9. The Irish writers, jealous of their national honor, are extremely provoked on this occasion, both with Tacitus and with Agricola. That's interesting. 1 legion and a few auxiliaries. Oh, we could have kicked their. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Yeah. And the Britons would wear their chains with less reluctance. The Western Isle might be improved into a valuable possession, and the Britons would wear their chains with the less reluctance if the prospect and example of freedom were on every side removed from before their eyes. Okay. All right, so we're at roughly 40 minutes, and yeah, until next time, that's not going to be next time. Bye.